how many people in here are like actual case managers or like have ever worked with DCF? Okay. So assume you had an opportunity. Okay, yeah. All right. Assume you had the opportunity to just like write down a profile for the ideal child welfare commissioner for your state. Okay. You're going to wave a magic wand and you're going to put that profile together. You would probably want that person to have a master's in social work, you know, maybe, you know, social work. Maybe they would even have a law degree so they could take on the courts for you, okay? So I'm just saying. All right, so that'd be like, education-wise, you probably want that. Having esprit de corps and being a former case manager myself, I'd probably want that person to have done some time on the front lines. Right? 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 Can I get a witness? Okay. Just saying. So you probably want to have some frontline experience. Now, for those of you middle managers in the room, is that the hardest job on the planet? Yeah. You think it's hard on the front lines? Try running interference through the bosses. Look at Stacy, huh? Try running interference through her. So,
what's your point, Ruthie?
I'm just saying.
Get to the point.
You probably want this person also to have like been a supervisor, you know what it's like at that, you know. Okay. Then suppose you wanted somebody who knew something about the courts and how to deal with maybe lawsuits when they came up and things like that, because we sometimes as frontline case managers we get into some trouble. Maybe you'd want somebody who started the legal division for Department of Children and Families and was the first director. That'd be a good commissioner, right? Wouldn't that person be a good? It turns out that Susan Hamilton meets all this criteria. It's ridiculous. Okay, so okay, but I want to put this particular award into context because this is, well, it's in honor of extraordinary efforts to improve the lives of children and families in the child welfare, in America's child welfare system. And actually, we gave this award to Senator Patty Murray from Washington, D.C. in August, because at the federal level, that is somebody who made possible the new $40 million in Section 8 vouchers. Okay, so you have great federal people. The other person that received the award was Congressman Jim McDermott, because you have Patty Murray on the one hand making available the housing resources, then you have Jim McDermott on the other hand making available good, solid child welfare policy, okay? If you don't have people on the state level taking advantage of all those opportunities, you will not be keeping families together and safe in your state. You have someone in a Commissioner Susan Hamilton who does these things on the state, and that's why we're honoring her with our national awards.
So much, Ruthie. I really appreciate it. She didn't mention you probably want the person to be over 5 feet tall, which I'm not. I feel taller than I actually am, so hopefully people can actually see me. But truly, this has been really moving for me this morning for a whole host of reasons. But it's this type of event, this type of recognition of the families and the strengths and the resiliency of the people that we work with, our providers, our frontline folks, our families, our children, that reminds me, I'm going to start crying now, that reminds me why we do this work. You know, sometimes we spend so much time thinking about the areas in need of improvement, right? The things that we need to work on strengthening, the things that maybe aren't going so well. And I have to remind myself, and I think this is such a nice opportunity for all of us to remind each other of all of the things that are working, right? And all of the successes that we see every day through the work of everybody who's here this morning. And so I want to, first of all, thank the National Center for Housing and Child Welfare. And I just met Ruth today, and I had Ruth, but now I guess it's Ruthie. Yeah. I'm supposed to refer to you as Ruthie. Truly, for the work that you have done at the national level, for recognizing, and I don't think, and I think it was one of the other award recipients this morning said they don't feel that they're personally deserving of the award, and I share that feeling because it really is the work of everybody in this room that has made Connecticut a national model for housing and the importance of stability in housing for families who are in the child welfare system, and hopefully for those families who never will need to enter the child welfare system or be involved with us, because we can support them before that happens. So I just want to thank you, Ruthie, and your organization for all of the efforts that you do to educate people. I was really moved by your comment about the folks that you would work with in Washington who had a lot of experience at child welfare, who were sort of surprised and didn't get the connection between housing and those supports that you need, and why would that be connected to child welfare. And so I think that while that's unfortunate, I think that we're seeing, you know, and it took a little longer than it should have, I guess, it sounds like, but we're seeing on the national level a recognition of why we need to provide that and why there's a connection there. So I want to thank you very much for that and for being here. And I also want, and I know we've recognized a lot of the folks here already today, but I don't think there's anything wrong with over-recognition. We tend to not get enough of it in this field in particular, I have to say. So I want to specifically thank the Connections, Peter Nucci. Stacy Gerber has been a champion of this program since day one. Yeah, and the matching handbag and the shoes, but we won't go there. She doesn't actually match the decor as well as others, but she didn't know. Had she known, she would have, I think. But Kim Summer Rodriguez, who is Betsy Cronin, Lisa, all of the Connection staff, and I know Peter had listed all of the organizations and providers that work with all of you throughout the state, and so I won't rename everybody, but truly without that partnership, and that's the other nice thing I think as we talk about how this program has evolved, to me the other thing that it really highlights is how we can work together in a way that really helps families. You know, we come to the table, we have volunteers, we have people who are, you know, I hate the coin phrase, thinking outside the box, but really it's like, what do families need? And I think Ruthie and others talked about how critical that frontline relationship is, and every person that I have met connected with this program, both at the Connections, at the providers that work throughout the state, with all of the other fellow recipients here this morning, that is the one thing that I have seen. It's so evident to me that they care. Right? They really care. They're there. And they're not going to sort of let the, you know, the policies, the rules, this, that. We think outside that, and we sort of figure out what it is that people need, and we give that to them. And you guys are all responsible for that. It doesn't necessarily bear repeating in this room because I'm preaching to the choir, but we all know that there are so many children and families that are involved in the child welfare system, perhaps unnecessarily, simply because they don't have the housing supports that they need to be stable.